The planet was nothing like Earth. The sky was a dull, unnatural shade of purple, and the landscape seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions, barren and lifeless. The wind howled, carrying with it the scent of something strange, something foreign. The man, a grizzled former soldier named Lucas, had been stranded on this planet for weeks after his ship crashed during a reconnaissance mission. He had tried to send out a distress signal, but nothing. No help. No rescue. Lucas had survived the crash, but survival was becoming harder every day. His food rations were running low and water was even scarcer. His only hope was to find something, anything that could help him get off this forsaken rock. As he wandered through the desolate landscape, his thoughts drifted to home, to the familiar feel of earth beneath his feet, the bustling cities, and the people he had once known. Suddenly, a movement caught his eye. It was small, barely visible against the bleak backdrop of the alien world. He squinted, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. At first he thought it might be a mirage, but as he walked closer he saw it. No, her. A girl. No older than 10, hunched over in the dirt, looking as if she was barely able to stand. She had pale violet-colored skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Her eyes, bright and alien, were wide with fear and hunger. Lucas froze for a moment, unsure of what to do. She was an alien, he could tell that much. But she looked human enough in some ways, a lost child in an unfamiliar world. And yet there was something else in her eyes, something that made Lucas's chest tighten. Desperation. Loneliness. "Hey," he called softly, not wanting to startle her. "Are you all right?" The girl didn't respond at first, but Lucas could see her small body trembling with weakness. She slowly lifted her head, her gaze locking with his. Her lips parted as if she was about to speak, but all that came out was a faint, dry cough. Lucas's heart clenched. He couldn't just leave her there. He was no doctor, but he could at least give her some water, some food. He quickly rummaged through his pack, pulling out the last of his rations, some protein bars, and a small bottle of water. He knelt down in front of her, holding the water out to her. "You need to drink," he said gently. Her eyes flickered between the water and his face, as if unsure whether she should trust him. But then, without warning, she reached out with trembling hands and grabbed the bottle, taking a long, desperate drink. The sight of her drinking was both heartbreaking and relieving. She hadn't spoken yet, but the way she held on to the bottle told him all he needed to know. She was starving, just like him, and here they were, both stuck in a world that didn't care about either of them. After she finished drinking, Lucas offered her a small protein bar. She took it hesitantly, tearing into it with a mixture of exhaustion and hunger. As she ate, Lucas sat in silence, watching her. Her eyes darted up at him every now and then, still unsure of his intentions. But there was something else in those eyes now, something that resembled trust. Just a tiny spark. "My name's Lucas," he said softly after a long pause. "What's yours?" She looked at him, her lips parting, but still no words came. Instead, she reached out with her small, fragile hand, touching the tattered fabric of his jacket. Her touch was gentle, almost like a question, as if she was asking if it was safe to get close. Lucas looked at her for a moment, then smiled gently, offering a comforting gesture. "You don't have to tell me your name. I understand," he said quietly. The girl finally looked up at him fully, and there it was again. The unspoken connection, the silent bond of two strangers finding each other in an unforgiving world. She was cold, hungry, and lost just like him. And for the first time in weeks, Lucas felt that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't completely alone on this desolate planet. Lucas decided to take her back to his small camp. The harsh winds outside made it dangerous, and he knew it would be better for both of them to stay put and wait out the storm. He guided her through the barren landscape, the silence between them only broken by the crunch of their footsteps in the dry earth. As they walked, the girl clung to his side, her small form pressed against him for warmth. When they reached the camp, Lucas quickly set up a shelter to keep them safe from the elements. It wasn't much, just a simple tarp and a small fire. He offered the girl a blanket, watching as she wrapped it around herself, shivering. The fire crackled, casting a warm glow over their faces. For a while they sat in silence, with only the sound of the fire and the occasional howl of wind breaking the quiet. Lucas sat across from her, watching her closely as she ate the last of the food he had given her. "You'll be okay," he said, trying to reassure her, though he wasn't sure if he believed it himself. "We'll figure this out. I'll help you," the girl didn't reply. She simply stared into the fire, her face distant, her thoughts seemingly elsewhere. Lucas knew that silence meant more than words. She was processing, trying to make sense of the kindness she had just received. For a long time they sat like that, the quiet of the camp offering a rare sense of peace amidst the chaos of the world around them. But Lucas knew this peace was fleeting. There were dangers out there, in the unknown stretches of this alien world. He couldn't protect her forever. As the fire began to die down, the girl suddenly looked up at him, her eyes filled with something he hadn't seen before. It wasn't fear this time, nor was it the uncertainty of a child. It was something more powerful. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but steady. Lucas blinked, caught off guard. He hadn't expected her to speak at all, let alone thank him. But her words were more than just gratitude. They were a sign of something deeper, a recognition of the bond that had already begun to form between them. "You're welcome," Lucas replied, his voice low. "I couldn't just leave you out there." The next morning, they were startled by a noise, a loud mechanical hum that filled the air. Lucas's instincts kicked in, and he grabbed the girl's arm, pulling her close. He scanned the horizon, but all he could see was the same barren land. Then he spotted it, an enormous ship descending from the sky, its silhouette casting a long shadow over the ground. The girl stiffened beside him, her body trembling as the ship landed nearby. Lucas had no idea who or what was inside, but he had a feeling that this was not just another random ship passing through. The girl's reaction only confirmed his suspicion. The ship's doors opened and out stepped a figure, tall, commanding, and unmistakably alien. Her presence radiated authority. She was wearing an ornate suit of armor, and her piercing gaze swept across the landscape. Locking on to Lucas and the girl gasped and took a step back. Hiding behind Lucas, the woman's eyes never left them. "You've brought her here," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You've taken the last of my people." Lucas felt a wave of confusion wash over him. I didn't know what she was." She was just a child, lost and hungry. The alien woman stepped forward, her face softening slightly. "You have no idea what you've done," she said. "She is the last of her kind. And now you've bound her fate to yours." The woman, who introduced herself as the Galactic Empress, seemed calm, but there was an underlying tension in her voice. She had come for the girl, but instead, she was looking at Lucas. The Empress's gaze held something Lucas couldn't quite place, a mix of curiosity and something more intense. "You saved her," the Empress said, her voice softer now. "For that I owe you a debt." Lucas tried to process the situation. "I just did what anyone would have done," the Empress smiled. "What if I told you that you've done more than you realize? What if I told you that your actions have changed the course of the galaxy?" She paused, letting the words sink in. "I want you by my side. Not just as an ally, but as something more. My mate, the protector of my world. You saved her, and now I offer you everything. Power, influence, the galaxy." Lucas stood in silence, his heart racing. What was she really offering him? Could he accept such a proposal, knowing what it might mean for his life? Lucas wasn't sure what to think. He was just a man who had been thrown into this chaotic world by chance. He had no interest in ruling a galaxy. He just wanted to survive, to help others when he could, but the Empress's offer lingered in his mind. Could he truly turn down the opportunity to become part of something larger, something greater than he could ever imagine? I don't know if I can accept," Lucas said, his voice filled with doubt. "I came here to survive, not to rule." The Empress's smile never wavered. "Then I will give you time to decide. But know this, you have already made an impact on her life. You've already changed the course of history." Over the next few days, Lucas found himself torn. The Empress's offer was tempting, but something about it felt wrong. He had built a bond with the girl, and though the galaxy offered him power, he wasn't sure if that was the life he wanted. As the days passed, he began to realize something. The girl wasn't just a stranger to him anymore. She was his responsibility, and that bond was something far more powerful than any empire. Lucas chose his path, not the Empress's galaxy, but the life he had begun to build with the girl. He would protect her, and together they would forge their own future, in a galaxy full of uncertainty. As they left the wreckage of the alien world behind, Lucas understood that the choices he had made, small, personal choices, had already changed everything. And in the end, that was all that mattered.